raised an eyebrow. Then she turned to Marcus. "Mr. Taylor, you may respond." Marcus stood. Not a twitch of anger. Just composure. "Your Honor, before I speak, may I ask that you review the document I submitted with my defense?" She nodded. The clerk handed her a sealed folder. What she read changed everything. The courtroom hushed as the judge's eyes scanned the page. She adjusted her glasses. Her lips parted slightly in surprise. Marcus Taylor, decorated Air Force veteran, master's in cybersecurity from MIT, current contract engineer with the U.S. Department of Defense. Daniels blinked. He tilted forward in his seat. "And this incident occurred while you were returning from a classified infrastructure meeting?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Why didn't you say that at the scene?" Marcus looked straight ahead. "Because protocol requires I don't disclose sensitive work in non-secure environments, even during traffic stops. It's in my clearance agreement." The judge glanced at Daniels. Then she leaned forward. "Officer Daniels, were you aware that Mr. Taylor was a federal contractor under active security clearance?" Daniels cleared his throat. "No, Your Honor." The judge turned back to Marcus. "And you have documentation confirming all of this?" Marcus nodded. "In the folder. Page 4. Silence. Heavy silence. Then the judge slowly closed the file. "Mr. Taylor, the court acknowledges your credentials and service. You were not in violation of any law. You complied with identification requests. And this court sees no evidence of resistance, only discretion. Charges are hereby dismissed." Gasps whispered across the gallery. But the judge wasn't done. She turned back to Officer Daniels. "This court recommends a formal review of Officer Daniels' conduct. Not just for this arrest, but for the assumptions made during it." Daniels' face fell. But Marcus didn't smile. He just sat down, gently folded his hands again, and looked forward. As court adjourned, Daniels rushed toward the exit, pushing past a woman with a clipboard who had been quietly watching the proceedings from the back. She followed him. "Officer Daniels?" she called out. He stopped. She held up a badge. "Internal Affairs. We need to talk, right?" What happened in that courtroom was just the beginning. Because what Officer Daniels thought was a minor arrest turned out to be the spark that unraveled something much deeper. When Internal Affairs stopped Officer Daniels in that hallway, he thought it would blow over. Just a routine inquiry. A slap on the wrist at worst. But within 72 hours, that conversation would reveal something the department tried to hide. And Marcus Taylor was about to find out he was never meant to walk free that day. Officer Daniels turned slowly. The woman flashing the Internal Affairs badge is calm but firm. "We need to speak now. Privately." Daniels tries to deflect. "Look, it was just a routine stop." The guy had an attitude. She cuts him off. "That guy was cleared at the federal level an hour before your stop. And yet, your body cam footage shows no attempt to verify his ID." He stiffens. The hallway suddenly feels colder. By law, every traffic stop involving physical detainment triggers a paperwork trail. But when Internal Affairs requested Daniels' dashcam logs and arrest notes, something didn't add up. The timestamps were off. Logs were edited. Radio traffic was missing. Someone inside the department had tampered with evidence. But why? Daniels is pulled back in. "Did you alter these files, Officer Daniels?" "No, ma'am." "Then who did?" Silence. Marcus sits with a cup of coffee, watching the news quietly. His name is now in headlines. Federal contractor cleared after wrongful arrest sparks review of officer conduct. His phone rings. It's not Internal Affairs. It's someone from deeper inside the system. "Mr. Taylor, this is Special Agent Hart from the DOJ Civil Rights Division. We've been reviewing your case. We believe this goes beyond a traffic stop. What started as a routine investigation suddenly escalated. Daniels wasn't working alone. His name showed up in 3 other cases, each involving young black men. Each dismissed quietly. And in every case, some digital evidence was either missing or altered." Marcus meets with the DOJ rep. "Agent Hart, you weren't just profiled, Mr. Taylor. You were targeted. We believe there's a pattern and a cover-up. Officer Daniels is now under full suspension. No badge. No service weapon. No access to the department server. He receives a message on his personal phone. Stop talking. You're not protected anymore." Daniels looks around his apartment. His confidence is gone. By the end of the week, Internal Affairs had linked Daniels' patrol activity to an internal risk file,
a classified list of high-monitor targets created after a controversial policing policy was quietly piloted in their city. And Marcus Taylor's name was at the top of that list. Marcus reads the document. His hands tremble. They were watching me before I even got pulled over? A knock comes at Marcus's door late at night. It's not the press. Not a friend. He opens the door slowly and sees two men in suits. Mr. Taylor, one of them says, "There's something you need to see. It's about your file. The one that never should have existed." Narrator fade to black. Because this wasn't just about one officer. This was about a system, a secret file, and a man they never expected would fight back. They built a secret system to track the ones who stayed quiet, who didn't shout, who didn't fight back. But when Marcus Taylor opened that door, he didn't just step into the truth. He walked straight into a war for his name. And this time, justice came armed. The two agents stood at the door. One held a black file folder sealed in red tape, the other a flash drive. "Mr. Taylor," the lead agent said, "this is what they didn't want you to see." Marcus stepped back to let them in. His apartment was quiet. Only the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the room. But his mind raced. He sat at the dining table. The folder landed in front of him. Inside were documents marked internal use only. Names, faces, GPS locations, social media accounts. Dozens of black professionals, students, and veterans, flagged as civic threats based on behavioral patterns. Marcus saw his own profile. Subject demonstrates elevated confidence in authority exchanges. Security clearance confirmed. Monitored for potential federal whistleblowing risk. His hands shook, not from fear but rage. This is illegal. The agent nodded. It's not just unethical. It's criminal. And it's not just about you anymore. The Department of Justice launched a civil rights probe within 48 hours. What they found was stunning. A hidden policy directive created by a task force operating under off-the-books guidelines in 2 cities. At the center of it, Officer Daniels and 3 of his commanding officers. They had built a database of potential agitators, not based on crime, but on confidence. Skin color, tone of voice, eye contact. And Marcus? He'd just been in the wrong room with the right resume. Officer Daniels sat at the table, visibly shaken. Across from him, an IA attorney slid a printed email across the table. "You received this from Captain Harris 4 days before your arrest of Mr. Taylor. Please read the subject line aloud." Daniels swallowed hard. Flagged Tier 2 individuals for watchlist update. Target, Marcus Taylor. Gasps filled the room behind the mirror. He looked up. "I didn't know what it meant at the time. But you acted on it." Silence. Marcus returned to court. But this time he wasn't a defendant. He was a witness. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, lawyers. The same judge from his first hearing now presided over the federal civil rights trial. Marcus took the stand. "They didn't arrest me for breaking the law," he said. "They arrested me for staying silent, for not giving them the answer they wanted." He turned toward the bench. "But that silence was my protection. And now, my voice is their exposure." After months of federal inquiry, courtroom testimony, and media pressure, 3 officers were indicted on conspiracy to violate civil rights under color of law. The task force was dismantled. The hidden database? Deleted. And Marcus. He didn't just walk away with his name cleared. He walked away with policy reform. Marcus stood behind a podium, flanked by lawyers and civil rights leaders. Cameras flashed. "I didn't want this attention. I didn't want a headline. But I refused to let a system erase me. And I refused to let them erase others." He held up a copy of the now infamous internal memo. This isn't about one officer. This was about a culture of assumptions. One that criminalizes confidence. That punishes dignity. That fears the educated and silences the composed. But today that silence ends. Marcus walks past the courthouse steps, alone. He breathes in deep, eyes scanning the city that once judged him by a badge instead of a record. A young black teen wearing a school backpack passes by and nods. Marcus nods back. They tried to reduce him to a threat. But when the courtroom heard his truth, they saw the truth of the system itself. And this time, it was the system that stood trial. Justice served. Silence broken. Dignity restored. Never judge a man by his silence. He might be building a case louder than you can hear. Subscribe for more true crime stories.